that pilot apart.
What's up, Internet? This is Hourglass Gaming, and for today's video, I'm gonna talk about what I think is the strongest Titan loadout in Titanfall, which I also think is a very beginner-friendly Titan. And so I wanted to make a video for new or veteran players about this Titan, how to use it, and why I think it's the most effective Titan loadout in the game. This Titan is equipped to deal with any situation from long-range engagements to point-blank brawls, and it can deal a lot of damage to pilots and Titans. It can deal with rodeos, and it's a really adaptive loadout that can meet any situation. So it's excellent for if you're playing alone in something like Attrition or Last Titan Standing, where you kind of are the only person that you can rely on to get anything done. Or if you're playing with a team, then it's just an excellent all-around Titan that can fill any kind of role. So in general, I just think it's an awesome loadout, and a lot of my best games have taken place while using it. If you saw Monday's video, this is the loadout that I was using there. So for this loadout, we're going to use the Atlas Titan. For the main weapon, we're going to use the 40mm cannon with extended magazines. For the tactical ability, we're going to use the Vortex Shield. For ordnance, we're going to use the Cluster Missile. And then for kits 1 and 2, we're going to use Regen Booster and Survivor, respectively. All right, so now I'm going to go through kind of the logic behind each of these choices and talk about why I think they make this loadout so good. So the 40mm with extended mags. So this weapon is going to do a flat 310 damage to infantry and 900 damage to Titan at any range. So it doesn't matter if you're engaging them at point blank or from all the way across the map. It's going to do 310 to infantry and 900 to Titans. So what this means is that you don't need to determine your engagement distance based on the weapon's damage output. You can engage at the range that you're comfortable or equipped to deal with. So let's talk about how much damage this weapon does. So if it's doing 900 damage to Titans, then that means it's going to take 3 shots to drop any Titan's shield. And then from there, it will take 9 more shots to fully drop an Atlas. It'll take 12 more shots to drop an Ogre, and it'll take 7 more shots to drop a Strider. And so what this means is that if you initiate an engagement with a full-strength Atlas, it's going to take 12 shots to bring it down. So the 40mm cannon, even without extended mags, has the potential, if you land every shot, to down an Atlas without needing to reload. If you then give it the extended mags, then you've got 4 rounds of leeway in addition to your ordnance, which you can use if you miss a shot, you can still bring that back. So it's extremely effective, and it can even down an Ogre from full health to doomed without reloading if you're landing all your hits. I'm not sure if it's the only weapon in the game that can down a Titan without reloading, but it is one of the surest ways to do so. And so basically with this, you can go into a situation knowing that you're not going to have to pause to reload. And so from start to finish, as long as you're accurate, you won't need to reload and you're just putting damage on your target. The reason I recommend you take extended mags instead of the burst fire is that this will give you greater accuracy when you're engaging infantry targets. So if you intend to use this class as a close range brawler in something like Last Titan Standing, then you might want to go with the 3-round burst. But I think in general, the extended magazine and the accuracy of the weapon offer a greater benefit than just taking the 3-round burst for the higher damage output. The gun does take some time to get used to because the velocity of the rounds is a little lower than something like the chain gun. But once you get used to the lead times, then you can land your hits on Titans and infantry and be extremely effective. So onto the Cluster Missile. Okay, so this is a weapon that can be used in any kind of situation. You can engage Titans at extreme range or very close, though there are issues with both of those. At extreme range, it tends to fly off course, and at extreme close distance, you have to watch out that you're not hurting yourself. But it can be used in any of those distances. It can engage Titans. It's excellent for breaking up blocks of infantry. If a drop pod hits the ground, you can drop a cluster missile, know you're going to kill everyone coming out of that drop pod, and then move on. It can be used for crowd control. You can lock down lanes to prevent or forestall Titans from moving up through them. if you know that Titans are moving through a position, you can just put it on the ground and then you're doing damage over time to those Titans as they try to move through it. It does damage when it hits the target, so it's an extremely effective weapon in all situations, and so that's just going to allow you to adapt to whatever kind of conflict you end up being in. Also, this Titan isn't using the electrical smoke tactical ability, so the cluster missile is going to give you a defense against rodeoing pilots. And so what you're going to want to do when a pilot rodeos you is to find the nearest wall, shoot your cluster missile at that wall, and then turn your back to it. And this will do a lot of damage to your Titan. And so what you want to do when you try this is to get out of your Titan and then immediately get back in. And so basically when you do this, the explosion from the cluster missile is tied to you, not your Titan. And you can't do friendly fire damage to your Titan. So this will mean that you do substantially less damage to your Titan. If you watched Monday's video, I think I do it 3 or 4 times in that video. So if you need to see what that looks like, then you can go there. Also, I'm not very good at it. So if you look on Frothy Omen or War Spirit UK's channels, they're both excellent at it, and they might be a better example on what you're trying to do. So basically, the cluster missile is just an excellent all-around ordnance. If you plan on running really close to your enemies, like if you want to be a 3-round burst up-close brawler, then you might consider taking the rocket salvo, just because that has such high damage potential at extreme close range. And then if you know that you're only going to be engaging Titans, then I recommend the multi-target missile system, just because that ordnance option is kind of like having a secondary primary weapon. Like, it's amazing, and you can almost always be firing at least one missile. So I think that's an excellent option, but it doesn't give you the anti-infantry capability that the cluster rocket has. So I think in general, the cluster missile is going to be a better choice unless you know that you're only going to be fighting Titans in a situation like Last Titan Standing. Okay, so the Vortex Shield is going to be my recommendation because it's a shield that can't be flanked. I think the Particle Wall is a better shield. The Particle Wall will allow you to maintain your offensive capability while locking down your enemy's damage capabilities. But the Vortex Shield is something that your enemies can't get around. And so I've experienced a lot of times when my opponents drop Particle Walls, then it's just a dash or two to the side, and now that particle wall is all of a sudden not helping them. And I've also been able to force enemies out of their particle walls, and then I'm using their particle wall to my advantage. So the particle wall is a tricky tactical ability to use appropriately, and it can often fail to protect or even harm you. The Vortex Shield, however, you just put it up and point it at your enemies, and it's gonna keep you alive. My primary use for the Vortex Shield is to prevent myself from taking damage when my primary shields are down. So my shields go down, my enemy's still firing on me, and then I pop my Vortex Shield and I try to keep it up for as long as I can so that my shields come back, and then I can let the Vortex Shield down and continue with the engagement. So in general, if you're a beginner and you're not sure how to place particle walls so that you aren't getting flanked, and if you know that your teammates aren't necessarily reliable, then I think the Vortex Shield is a much more dependable and reliable option than the particle wall would necessarily be. So the reason for the regen booster, like I said before with the Vortex Shield, you need your shields up as much as possible. Those are the key to remaining combat effective in Titanfall. When you have run out of your shields, it takes a couple seconds, and you need to have not taken damage for that time before they'll come up. The regen booster reduces the amount of time it'll take before your shields start to regenerate. I think that's a worthwhile kit to take because it'll allow you to get your shields up faster. If your Titan has almost no health left, but you have full shields, you're still a viable fighting component of the team, of the battle, whatever it's called. I think it's definitely a worthwhile kit to take. The second kit, Survivor, a lot of people seem to disagree with, but Survivor dramatically extends the amount of time it takes for your health to degrade once you've been doomed. And so what this gives you is the spare seconds in your Titan that you might need to doom another Titan, or to kill a pilot, or to fire one last vengeful ordnance shot. And so the Survivor is just going to give you the time you need to finish what you were doing if you lost the engagement and were doomed. You do run a risk with Survivor because by staying in your Titan when doomed, you are extending the amount of time it's possible for your enemies to get the termination on you, or to simply continue to shoot you and blow you up. So it's a risky thing to engage in. It's possible it will give your enemies 9 points instead of 4, but I think most of the time it's worthwhile, and if you learn kind of how long it takes to eject and kind of feel that out, then it can be used to great effect. So yeah, I hope you guys found this informational and eye-opening. I encourage you to try this loadout if you haven't already. I think it's the best loadout in the game. It's what I use most of the time, and I think it's excellent for any situation. But what do you guys think? Do you have a favorite loadout that you would like me to try or review? Have you used this loadout, and what was your experience with it? Let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to see more Titanfall gameplay and commentary, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.